After coming back from a business trip overseas, I discovered my mom's new boyfriend's daughter, using my belongings and living in my room, at our family house. But rather than confronting them, I simply contacted my father, who resolved the situation immediately. Be me, 26-year-old Tyler. Work as structural surveyor for construction projects. Make decent money inspecting building foundations and stuff. Travel constantly for work, though. Dad died 9 months ago after brutal 6-year battle with early-onset dementia. Basically destroyed our entire family. Mom's in her early 50s. Got a sister who's married with kids. Pretty normal family, I thought. Here's where it gets interesting. Bought this house when I was 21. Had to get mom to co-sign because banks are weird about young dudes who travel for work. Was making good money but had zero credit history. Job meant I was gone 4 weeks out of every month. She insisted on being on the title too. Said, just in case something happens to you on those dangerous job sites, honey. Made sense, honestly. Work around heavy machinery, unstable structures, construction sites where people die. Plus she was doing me a huge favor with the cosign. Figured having family as backup was smart, not stupid. Dad was already getting sick at that time. Wanted someone I trusted to handle things if I got hurt or worse. Seemed like good planning at the time. In case you're wondering how I could afford house at this young age, been working my ass off since I was 15. Construction summers, worked through college while other kids partied, saved every single dollar. Bought this house for $195,000. Not the best neighborhood, but solid bones. Spent years dumping money into improvements. But the basement was my masterpiece. 4 years of weekends, 60 grand of materials. Built everything myself. Custom floors, sound system, billiards table, bar, the works. About 5 months after Dad's funeral, Mom started dating this guy, Vincent, mid-40s business consultant. Dresses like he's closing million-dollar deals. Calls me son constantly. Has opinions about my travel schedule. Says I need to settle down. Guy rubs me wrong, but Mom seems happy for first time in years. Keep my mouth shut. He starts showing up more and more. Staying overnight. Having opinions about Mom's house. Says she deserves better than living with all these memories. Over next few months, Vincent basically moved himself into Mom's life. Started leaving clothes in her closet. Had opinions about her cable package. Suggested she downsize to something more manageable. Every family dinner became awkward dance. He'd lecture me about responsibility. Mom nodded along like he was some kind of relationship guru. My sister Brooke loved him. Said Mom deserves someone who appreciates her. Even Aunt Linda was singing his praises. Kept telling myself it was temporary. Mom was just enjoying attention after years of being caregiver. Figured once novelty wore off, she'd see through his bullshit. Was focused on work anyway. Had this massive Detroit project that was going to set me up financially for years. So I'm coming home from 4 weeks in Detroit. Exhausted from overseeing foundation work on 45-story mixed-use tower, just wanting to collapse in my cave and decompress with some billiards and music. Flight was delayed. Running on 3 hours of sleep. All I want is to get home to my space. Pull up and there's a sold sign on my front lawn. My lawn. For my house. Sit in my car for a minute thinking I'm having some kind of breakdown. Maybe I'm at wrong address. Maybe this is some nightmare from sleep deprivation. But no, there's my address, my driveway, my mailbox with my name on it. There was a moving truck in the driveway. Could see guys loading furniture. My furniture. Got out and walked toward the house in a daze. One of the movers was carrying out my custom bar stools. My hand-carved maple bar stools that I'd commissioned from craftsmen in Vermont. Each one cost me $450 and took 7 weeks to complete. This guy was just carrying them like they're yard sale furniture. "Excuse me, what the hell is going on?" I asked the mover. "House sale, man. New owner wants everything cleared out today." New owner. The words hit me like a sledgehammer. Stormed into the house. Moving boxes everywhere. Professional movers loading my stuff onto trucks. My living room is half empty. Pictures are off the walls. Looks like I'm being evicted from my own home. Head straight for the basement. My sanctuary, my masterpiece. Hoping maybe this nightmare stops there. That's when I see His Royal Highness Vincent. He was literally sitting in my leather recliner. My Herman Miller Aeron chair that I saved for 9 months to buy. Got his feet up on my custom coffee table. Remote in hand watching my 80-inch OLED. Like he's been living there for months. Just sitting there calm as hell while my life gets packed into boxes upstairs. "Why the fuck are you in my house?" I asked. He sighed like I'm some teenager throwing a tantrum. Your mom sold it? You don't need all this space and luxury at your age. Too much responsibility for someone who travels constantly. What the hell you're talking about? This is my house. I built this entire basement with my hands. Every light fixture, every piece of flooring, every wire behind these walls, I said. He actually laughs. Kid, your name's not on the deed anymore. Your mom refinanced months ago while you were traveling. Something about you being unreachable and not contributing to payments. He pulls out his phone to show me documents. House belongs to me now. Legal transfer of property between consenting adults. The room starts spinning. Apparently, while I was working 15-hour days making sure a skyscraper wouldn't collapse and kill people, Mom had been quietly refinancing the house under her name only. She'd claimed I was unreachable and not contributing to payments. Complete bullshit lies. I'd been making automatic mortgage payments for 6 years. She can't do that, I said. But even as the words came out, I knew she could. She was on the title, she was the co-signer. Legally, she had every right to refinance without me. Actually, she can, Vincent says, settling back into my chair. Your mom decided you didn't need a bachelor pad at your age. Time to grow up, son. Maybe think about getting your own place, starting a family, instead of playing with toys in a basement. That's when I lost it. Get out of my chair, I said, voice deadly quiet. It's my chair now, kid. Took a step toward him, said get the hell out of my chair. Something in my voice must have gotten through because he actually stood up, hands raised like I was the one being unreasonable. Look, I get that you're upset, but this is done. Your mom made her decision. Maybe you should focus on building a relationship with your family, instead of building man caves. You have 15 seconds to get out of my house before I throw you through that fucking wall, I said. And I meant it. 4 weeks of stress, no sleep, and coming home to find some stranger stealing my life. Was ready to put this guy in the hospital. Vincent grabbed his jacket and headed for the stairs. Your mom's going to hear about this attitude, son. Real mature behavior. Followed him up, watching him load the last of my stuff into trucks. Movers wouldn't even look at me. They had paperwork showing Vincent as the owner. Everything legal and proper. My own belongings being stolen with legitimate moving contracts. Where's my mom? I asked one of the movers. Lady who hired us is at the lawyer's office finishing up paperwork. He said, should be back in an hour? Couldn't wait an hour. Couldn't stand there watching them load my life into trucks for another minute. Grabbed my work bag from the car, the only thing that was definitely still mine. Drove straight to the cheapest motel I could find. Called Mom immediately when I got to the motel. Tyler, this is for the best, all she could say. For the best, you gave my house to your boyfriend. She started screaming. I sacrificed 6 years of my life caring for your father while you built your little man cave and played with your toys. Do you know what I gave up while you sent checks from hotel rooms? Mom, I was working to support us. To support yourself. You built your perfect bachelor pad while I changed diapers and cleaned vomit. Vincent was there more for your father's final months than you were. He helped me lift him. He drove us to appointments. You showed up to the funeral and went back to work like nothing happened. Vincent deserves this house more than you do. Felt like I've been slapped. She's right about one thing, I wasn't there. Was working 70-hour weeks across 4 states while she dealt with Dad's decline. But that money kept us afloat, paid for his care, kept the lights on. Couldn't be there physically. My job required me to be on site for major infrastructure projects. Miss a deadline, lose the contract. Lose the contract, lose everything. But her words started sinking in deeper. So Vincent was there for Dad's final months. He was helping lift him and driving to appointments. What the actual hell? Dad died 9 months ago. Mom started dating Vincent 5 months ago. That means this piece of shit was hanging around my dying father, probably planning his next move while Dad was still breathing. Mom was seeing this guy while Dad was alive, letting him play the helpful family friend while scoping out our assets. The timeline doesn't add up. Now I'm wondering what else I missed while I was busting my ass to keep this family financially stable. Those floors alone cost me $9,500 in 4 months of work, I said, trying to focus on something concrete instead of growing realization that this betrayal runs deeper than I thought. Exactly my point. $9,500 that could have helped with your father's medical bills instead of your hobby project, she said. The conversation ended with her hanging up on me. No apology, no explanation beyond Vincent deserves it more. Like 6 years of mortgage payments and 4 years of building something beautiful with my own hands meant nothing. Here I am lying on a mattress that feels like concrete, in a room that smells like cigarettes, trying to figure out what the hell just happened. My own mother stole my house and gave it to some guy she's known for 8 months. Everything I built, everything I worked for, gone. Already called a lawyer, but honestly don't know what the hell to do. Here's the thing. I know you can't just sell property that's not in your name. Being a co-signer doesn't automatically put someone on the title. But the problem is Mom's name is on the deed. She wasn't just my co-signer anymore, she was a co-owner. Like I said, when we set up the original mortgage, she insisted on being added to the title for emergencies. Like an idiot, I agreed because she was doing me a favor with the cosign. How do you fight your own family? How do you prove a house is yours when your name got removed from the deed through what looks like legitimate refinancing? The lawyer says we might have a case for fraud if we can prove Mom lied on the refinancing documents about me being unreachable or not contributing to payments. But that could take months and cost thousands. Even then, it's not guaranteed. Has anyone dealt with family stealing property? Is there any way to fight this? I'm so fucking lost right now. Update 1, hey, again, it's been about a week since my original post. Holy crap, the responses, thanks for the support, seriously. Also thanks to everyone calling me an asshole for abandoning my dying father. Really needed to hear that right now. Let me clear some things up because apparently I'm the villain here. Dad's dementia wasn't just forgetting names or getting confused about what day it was. We're talking full-blown late-stage nightmare stuff. Wandering out at 2 a.m. in his underwear during winter storms. Not recognizing family members and thinking we were intruders. Violent episodes where he'd attack Mom because he thought she was trying to hurt him. He'd throw things, scream at shadows, refuse to eat because he was convinced we were poisoning him. This went on for 6 brutal years. I was 21 when it started, fresh out of college. Trying to build a career in a field where missing deadlines means you never work again. Structural surveying isn't like other jobs where you can call in sick or work remotely when family emergencies happen. When you're overseeing a bridge construction and something goes wrong, people die. When you miss a structural inspection deadline, entire projects get shut down and you're blacklisted from the industry. For the record, I sent money home constantly. Medical equipment that insurance wouldn't cover. Adult daycare programs to give Mom breaks. Experimental treatments that cost thousands out of pocket. Took out personal loans for some of Dad's care. Maxed out credit cards paying for modifications to make the house safer for him. But if I'd stayed home to help full-time, we'd have lost everything. Because I was the only one making decent money. Mom's part-time job at the school district barely covered groceries. My sister barely helped. The guilt was absolutely crushing. I'd be standing on construction sites in freezing rain or blazing heat. My phone would buzz with texts about Dad's latest episode. Dad tried to leave the house again last night. He didn't recognize me this morning and called the police saying I was robbing him. He threw his medication at the wall and says we're trying to kill him. Every text felt like a knife in my chest, but I had to keep working. The weird thing is that Mom seemed to understand that impossible situation. She never complained about my travel schedule, never asked me to quit or take a local job that paid half as much. Always said, focus on your career, sweetheart. Your father would be proud of how hard you're working for this family. I thought we were a team. Her providing the hands-on care, me providing the financial support that made it possible. Guess she was building resentment the whole time. Keeping score of every day I wasn't there while conveniently ignoring every dollar I sent home. Now about Vincent, this guy showed up right after the funeral, like a fucking vulture. Actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure I only saw him at the funeral itself. Which is weird because nobody in the family knew who he was at the time. But apparently my mom was on full dating mode with him even when my dad was still alive. Vincent drives around in a new Lexus that's maybe 7 months old, wears suits that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent, always seems to have cash for expensive dinners and weekend trips to wine country. But whenever anyone asks about his consulting business, he just gives these vague answers about helping companies optimize their operational efficiency or streamlining business processes for enhanced productivity. Corporate word salad that means absolutely nothing. What kind of consultant has unlimited free time to play house with my mom? Real consultants are busy people with client meetings and deadlines. This guy's schedule seems to revolve entirely around taking Mom on romantic getaways and giving me unsolicited life advice. Never liked this dude. He started calling me son from day one and lecturing me about family responsibility. Son, maybe you should think about settling down instead of chasing work all over the country. Son, your mother needs more support during this transition. Mom ate it up because finally someone understood her sacrifice and appreciated what she'd been through. Vincent would hold her hand during conversations and nod sympathetically while she talked about how hard caregiving had been, telling her she deserved better than she'd gotten. Anyways, a couple of days ago, while sitting in this motel room trying to figure out my next move, started thinking about how this whole thing went down without me having a clue. Brooke, my sis, talks to Mom constantly. They're on the phone like 4 times a week. How did she not mention that Mom was getting serious with some guy? How did she not think to give me a heads up that Vincent was practically living there and making major decisions about Mom's life? The more I thought about it, the more I realized my own sister had to have known something was up. So I called her yesterday for backup, thinking she'd see how insane this whole situation was. Wrong fucking move. Honestly, Tyler, good for Mom. She wasted 6 years of her life while you lived like some perpetual bachelor. Vincent actually showed up when it mattered. When's the last time you took Mom to dinner? When's the last time you bought her something nice after what she sacrificed? Vincent does that stuff. Brooks always resented my income and freedom. She's been stuck in suburban mom life since she was 20, works part-time as a dental hygienist, never made more than $38,000 in a year. She sees Vincent's attention to Mom as proof that I'm a selfish son who cares more about building projects than family relationships. Even called my Uncle Frank, Mom's brother, thinking he'd see how insane this is. He does, but for completely different reasons than I expected. Something seriously off about that Vincent guy, Frank told me over coffee. Business consultant, my rear end. You know what real consultants look like? They're stressed, overworked, constantly on their phones with clients. This guy's got time to take your mom on 4-day weekend trips every other week. The math doesn't add up. Frank owns an accounting firm, handles books for half the small businesses in town, so he knows the deal. He told me, if this guy's hiding income or running some kind of scam, the feds would love to know about it. Tax evasion, money laundering, those charges come with serious prison time. Now that's a thing, but honestly, the thing that hurts me the most in all this isn't even the legal stuff or the family betrayal. It's my basement that everyone keeps dismissing. People keep calling it a man cave like it's some beer fridge and dartboard situation you'd see in a college dorm. This was 4 years of my life and the best work I've ever done. Every weekend for 4 years, instead of dating or going out with friends, I was down there with power tools, learning advanced carpentry and electrical work, custom parquet floors that I researched for months and installed plank by plank, sound system that I wired myself after taking courses on home audio installation, a regulation chrome billiards table that cost me 5 months of overtime shifts. This wasn't some hobby room where I went to avoid responsibility. It was proof that I could take something raw and ugly and make it extraordinary. When I brought dates over, they were blown away by the craftsmanship. When my surveying colleagues saw it, they couldn't believe I'd built it myself. It was my signature on the world, my statement that I'd made something lasting and beautiful. That basement kept me sane during Dad's illness. When I'd come home from work trips, especially after the devastating phone calls about his latest episode while I was away, when everything felt chaotic and out of control, I could go down there and build something perfect. Every detail was mine. Every wire and piece of trim installed by my hands during weekends when I should have been resting from 70-hour work weeks. Now Vincent is planning to gut the whole thing and turn it into a storage room. 4 years of my life reduced to impractical use of space. My lawyer thinks we have a strong case. Mom lied on the refinancing documents about me being unreachable and not contributing to mortgage payments. I have 6 years of automatic payment records and email chains proving she could contact me anytime. That's mortgage fraud, like most of you said, plain and simple. The lawyer says if we can prove she knowingly provided false information to the lender, the entire refinancing could be voided. That's what we are working on, but it's not going to be easy or cheap. We need to subpoena the lender's records, get sworn statements from people who can verify I was reachable during the refinancing period. Basically build a paper trail proving Mom deliberately lied. The lawyer estimates it could cost me anywhere from $18,000 to $35,000 in legal fees. That's if everything goes smoothly. If Vincent fights back with his own lawyers, those costs could double. Uncle Frank's digging into Vincent's finances with his contacts in the financial industry. If this guy's scamming the IRS or running some kind of money laundering operation, things could get very interesting very fast. I'm trying to stay optimistic, but honestly, some days I wake up in this motel and wonder if I'm ever getting my life back. But I'm not giving up. These people messed with the wrong guy. I'll update you all as this unfolds. Thanks again for the support from those of you who get it. Update 2, hi, it's me again. And it's been 3 weeks, and this just keeps getting worse, but also better. I don't know, this whole situation is fucked. So Uncle Frank went full detective mode on Vincent's finances. Guys, this dude is shady as hell, but not in the way I originally thought. Frank started by checking public records for Vincent's business registration. Turns out his consulting company is registered in Nevada, which isn't automatically suspicious. Lots of legitimate businesses do that for tax purposes. But when Frank dug deeper, he found some concerning patterns. The business has no physical office address, no employees listed, no legitimate client contracts that Frank could verify. Vincent has been claiming significant business expenses on his taxes. Expensive meals, travel, even a portion of his car payments. But there's no corresponding income documentation that makes sense for the level of spending he's doing. This guy's claiming $9,500 a month in business expenses, but only reporting $32,000 a year in income. Frank told me, showing me printouts he'd gotten through his industry contacts. Either he's the worst businessman in history, or he's hiding income from somewhere else. But here's where it gets interesting. Frank thinks Vincent is a small-time scammer who got in over his head. The expensive lifestyle, the Lexus, all those gifts for mom. Frank thinks Vincent has been using credit and loans to fund it all. Basically living like he's wealthy while actually drowning in debt. Your house wasn't just about getting a free place to live, Frank explained. This guy needed assets to legitimize his financial situation. Banks were probably starting to ask questions about his debt-to-income ratio. Frank found records showing Vincent has been planning this type of scam for a while. He's done this before. Turns out Vincent had briefly dated 3 other women in neighboring states over the past 4 years. Both recent widows, both with property or savings. Those relationships ended when the women got suspicious or their families intervened. Which means my mom wasn't his first victim, but she was definitely his biggest target. A house I bought for $195,000 that was now worth nearly $320,000 with all my improvements and equity built up over the years, plus whatever equity mom had built up over the years. My lawyer filed fraud charges against both mom and Vincent last week, plus an emergency injunction to void the house sale. The mortgage fraud case is moving faster than expected because mom's lies on the refinancing documents were so blatant. She literally signed papers claiming I was unreachable for consultation, while I have email threads with her from the same time period discussing family stuff. When someone transfers property using demonstrably false information, that's conspiracy to commit fraud, my lawyer explained. Your mother can't claim ignorance when we have evidence she was in regular contact with you during the period she claimed you were unreachable. Meanwhile, Frank dropped a tip to his IRS contacts about Vincent's financial discrepancies. Turns out when someone suddenly acquires expensive property they can't document legitimate income for, that triggers automatic federal investigations. The IRS doesn't mess around with tax evasion, especially when it involves potential fraud. 5 days ago, everything exploded. Federal agents showed up at my house that Vincent had been living in like he owned the place. Turns out the piece of shit had been staying there full time since stealing it. Even after I kicked him out, probably enjoying every minute of sitting in my custom basement while I rotted in that motel. The feds seized his financial records right there in my living room, froze his bank accounts, and started interviewing his previous girlfriends in other states. There's something deeply satisfying about knowing he got arrested in the house he stole from me, dragged out in handcuffs from my own front door. The feds also found evidence that Vincent was planning to use my house to get even bigger loans, then probably skip town before anyone caught on. But the idiot got greedy and rushed things, which is why Uncle Frank was able to spot the inconsistencies so quickly. Since mom lied on all those refinancing papers, the whole house sale is getting thrown out. You can't steal something and then legally sell it, apparently. That means my house is coming back to me soon. But mom's in deep shit too. She's being charged as a co-conspirator because she knowingly participated in transferring fraudulently obtained property. Her claim that she didn't know Vincent was dirty fell apart when investigators found text messages between them, discussing how to hide the house transfer from me. The prosecutor thinks mom genuinely believed Vincent was successful and that they were just bending rules rather than committing serious crimes. But ignorance isn't a legal defense when you're actively helping someone commit fraud. Mom called me yesterday, and I've never heard her sound that desperate. Tyler, I need help. Vincent is under arrest, They froze all our accounts, even mine. They're saying I helped him commit fraud. Sounds like you made some poor choices, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't know how serious this was. I thought his business was just unconventional. Tyler, they want to prosecute me. I could go to prison. You knew enough to hide the house transfer from me. You knew enough to lie on mortgage documents. You made your choices. I was angry about your father, about feeling abandoned. Vincent said you didn't deserve the house, that I'd earned it through my sacrifice. It felt reasonable at the time, she said. And now you're facing federal charges because you decided to steal from your son to impress a con artist. Tyler, please, I made a mistake. If you don't help me, if you don't testify that I was manipulated, I could lose everything. You already lost everything when you chose a criminal over your family. Hung up and immediately felt this weird mix of satisfaction and emptiness. Brooke's been texting me constantly, begging me to have mercy on Mom and think about family bonds. But where was that family loyalty when they were all supporting Vincent and telling me I was selfish? The lawyer says I'll get my house back within the next month. All the stolen money will be returned, plus damages for the illegal transfer and my legal costs. Vincent is looking at 4 to 6 years for tax evasion and fraud. Mom's facing 3 to 4 years as a co-conspirator, though she might get less if she cooperates fully with the investigation. I should feel victorious, but honestly, I just feel tired. Never wanted to destroy my family. I just wanted my house back and some acknowledgement that what they did was wrong. But I'm not backing down. These people made their choices and now they get to live with the consequences. Hopefully on the next update, I'll tell you about finally getting to go back to my house. Wish me luck. Final update. Hey, it's been about a month since my last update. Figured it's time to close this whole crazy chapter out. A lot of you have been asking what happened next, so here's how everything wrapped up. First off, I got my house back officially, legally, permanently back in my name only. Walking up to my own front door with the keys in my hand after 3 months of hell was honestly one of the best feelings of my life. No more crappy motel, no more living out of a duffel bag, no more wondering if I'd ever get my life back. But man, seeing what Vincent had done to my place was like getting punched in the gut all over again. The main house wasn't too bad. He'd obviously been living there, but hadn't really changed much. Used my kitchen, slept in my bed, probably went through all my personal stuff like the creep he was. But it was my basement that really broke my heart. This piece of garbage had started tearing apart 4 years of my work. About a third of my custom parquet flooring was ripped up and thrown in a pile like trash. He disconnected my sound system and stacked the speakers in a corner like they were garage sale junk. My custom bar was partially dismantled. He'd removed the maple top I'd spent months perfecting, and it was just leaning against the wall with scratches all over it. Seems like he'd started spray painting over my charcoal wall coverings with this ugly beige color. Just straight up vandalism of something I'd built with my own hands. The guy was literally trying to erase every trace of the work I'd put into that space. But here's the thing. He didn't get very far before the feds grabbed him. Maybe 35% of the destruction he was planning. The billiards table was fine, just shoved against a wall. Most of my lighting was intact. The bar could be rebuilt. Looking at it, I realized this was fixable. Painful, but fixable. Took 4 weeks off work, first real vacation I'd had in 6 years. Threw myself into restoring everything he'd destroyed. Honestly, it was exactly what I needed. Instead of sitting around being angry about what happened, I poured all the rage I had into fixing it with my own hands. Found matching parquet planks from the same supplier, rewired all the sound system connections, rebuilt the damaged sections of my bar, refinishing the maple top until it was even better than before. Every wire I reconnected was proof that some loser con artist couldn't destroy what I'd built. The strangest part was how therapeutic the whole process was. When I'd built this basement originally, I was dealing with Dad's illness and all that stress. Now, I was rebuilding it after getting my life stolen and returned. Both times working with my hands in that space helped me process stuff I couldn't handle any other way. During those 4 weeks, I got calls from the prosecutor's office with updates on the case. Vincent ended up pleading guilty to avoid a longer trial. Got sentenced to 5 years federal prison for tax evasion, fraud, and conspiracy. Not as long as I hoped, but long enough that his life is basically destroyed. Federal conviction means he'll never get decent employment again. Can't own property, can't run businesses. His scamming days are over. Mom's situation was more complicated. Her lawyer worked out a plea deal where she got 20 months federal prison plus 4 years probation. She had to pay back all the money she'd helped Vincent hide, forfeit her house to cover restitution, and basically lost everything. The prosecutor said she got a lighter sentence because she cooperated fully once she realized how screwed she was. Brooke called me during Mom's sentencing, crying and begging me to visit Mom before she went to prison. "She's family, Tyler. She made a mistake, but she's still your mother. She stopped being my mother when she chose a criminal over her son," I told her. Actions have consequences. Brooke tried the guilt trip about Dad about how disappointed he'd be seeing our family destroyed. But you know what? Dad raised me to work hard, build something with my hands, and stand up for myself when people try to take what's mine. I think he'd be proud that I didn't just roll over and let them steal my life. The money situation worked out better than expected. Insurance covered some of the restoration costs since it was considered vandalism. The court ordered Vincent and Mom to pay damages for the illegal transfer plus all my legal fees. Ended up getting back more than I spent fighting this thing. But honestly, the money was never really the point. It was about not letting people walk all over me. Not letting family think they could steal from me just because we share DNA. Aunt Linda tried reaching out a few weeks ago, wanting to heal the family and suggesting I was being too harsh. Funny how she didn't want to heal anything when she was taking Vincent's side and supporting Mom's theft. I told her the family healed itself by removing the people who thought stealing was acceptable. The only real family in this mess is Uncle Frank. He stopped by last week to see the restored basement. He was the only one who had my back from the beginning, the only one who saw through Vincent's act. "You did good, kid," he said, looking around at my rebuilt paradise. "Sometimes you have to choose between being family and being right. You chose right. The basement looks incredible now, better than it ever did before. Honestly, the new sections blend perfectly with the original work. But now, every detail represents not just my original vision, but my refusal to let anyone destroy what I built. When I'm down there now shooting billiards on my chrome table, listening to music through my perfect sound system, looking at the light reflecting off my restored floors, I don't think about Mom or Vincent anymore. I think about the fact that I fought for what was mine and won. I think about how I turned the worst experience of my life into proof that I can rebuild anything. Some of you asked if I feel bad about Mom going to prison. Honestly, no. She made her choices every step of the way. She chose to believe Vincent over her own son. She chose to lie on legal documents. She chose to help a criminal steal from family. Every consequence she's facing is something she earned. Vincent played her for 8 months, convincing her she deserved what I'd worked for. I played the long game and used the legal system to get justice. Sometimes the house wins, especially when you refuse to fold. Brooke still sends occasional texts about family forgiveness and moving forward. I reply with photos of my basement and my property deed with only my name on it. So yeah, my house is mine again. My basement is better than ever. I sleep great at night knowing that nobody can ever take this from me again. Thanks to everyone who followed this insane story. Hope it helps someone else recognize the red flags and fight back when people try to steal